She was holding back her anger, though she wasn't sure why. For some strange reason, the magic beast had stopped attacking them, and Jin-Woo was still okay. He was even breathing normally, looking peaceful, like he was just asleep. All they could really do now was wait and hope Jin-Woo recovered soon. Then, out of nowhere, the angel statue finished its weird warm-up stretches and burst into a loud, crazy laugh. The creature chuckled to itself in the empty lair, its red eyes glowing as it watched the hunters. "Time to have some fun," it said with a grin. The hunters gripped their weapons tightly, ready for whatever was coming next. With only one monster to fight, they felt a glimmer of hope. After all, they had some of Korea's best hunters on their side, including 2 S-rank fighters. The dungeon shook violently, making the ground tremble beneath their feet. "Oh no!" one of them cried out, the hunters' faces filled with dread, as they realized something was very wrong. Before long, the broken statues started to move. Some had no heads, others had holes in their chests, and a few were missing arms or legs. Yet, incredibly, they all began to stand up. But the most terrifying sight was the gigantic statue of a deity, its presence looming over them like a nightmare come to life. "This is bad," someone muttered, their voice trembling with fear. The statues, despite their damage, looked as menacing as ever, ready to strike. Their faces were as blank as stone, making them look even more terrifying. The hunters backed away until they hit something solid. It was the door. It had slammed shut and locked while they weren't paying attention. Those statues were not going to let them leave alive. Then the angel spoke up. "Only those who survive after my statues fall will get to see the king's glorious return," it said. Jinchul's face twisted in confusion. What was it even talking about? The monster was ranting and raving about something. But one thing was super clear: it wanted to kill everyone in sight. Jinchul clenched his fists. He'd been with the Hunters Association for 4 tough years, surviving all sorts of life or death battles, by fighting with everything he had. That's exactly what he was gonna do today. Hunter wasn't about to give up without a fight. Even if things went south, Hunter Sung knew he had to keep going. As Hunter glanced over at Jin-Woo, something weird happened. The angel statue casually waved at him. "Check this guy out. He took down my puppets in just 5 minutes." The statue then pointed at the other hunters, as if to say, "I wonder how long it will take for all of you to die." As soon as the angel said that, Jinchul yelled, "Get down!" The hunters quickly dropped to the ground as a red laser zipped over their heads. It was super close, but luckily, no one got hurt. The glowing beam from the giant statue slowly faded away. The angel statue tilted its head like it was curious, and took a step back. These guys would be fun to watch, until the king woke up. Jinchul was puffing hard and covered in sweat. He was a mess. He couldn't stop thinking about how bad things could have been if he hadn't known what to do. They'd made it through the first attack, because of tips from earlier survivors, but they weren't safe yet. No, this was just the beginning. Jinchul looked up and saw the statues moving closer. Only a top A-rank hunter could keep up with their lightning-fast moves. He sprang into action, wound up in a flash, and swung his powerful gauntlet at the statue. "It's KAPOS. He stared in shock. Wait, what? One punch should have been more than enough to shatter it, especially with its damaged shoulder. But here it stood, totally unharmed. He shouldn't have underestimated it, after all. He knew exactly who had caused that shoulder damage in the first place." The statue's head jerked back from Jinchul's punch, but it quickly snapped back into action, and swung its sword at him. "He's caught," Jinchul muttered under his breath. He had gone all out with that punch without thinking about what might happen next. Now the statue was too close, and he didn't have time to get out of the way. "He's gone." Just in time, a massive explosion blasted the statue off course, sending it flying sideways. Jinchul squinted and shook his head, trying to get rid of the ringing in his ears. A voice came from his right. "Are you okay?" It was Jongin, the ultimate hunter. Jinchul nodded quickly, thankful, but in a rush, no time for chit-chat. Then came a loud boom. The giant statue started moving. Smaller statues clattered to life, surrounding the hunters with eerie clicks and clangs. "President Chai," the tank warriors shouted. "Provocation skills don't work on them." Jongin's expression hardened. Without provocation, the statues would target the weakest hunters first, usually the healers. Once the healers were down, their defense would crumble quickly. To make things worse, a massive colossus was lifting its huge fist. They were stuck at the edge of a cliff with only one way to escape, waking up Hunter Sung. The angel statue had mentioned this, and it said Hunter Sung took down all the statues in just 5 minutes. Earlier Jin-Woo had been beaten because he was already weakened by other statues, but now things were very different. They had some of the best hunters watching his back. It was time to wake him up now. Jongin held out his hand, and a glowing fireball popped into it. Being known as the ultimate hunter isn't just for show. His fireballs were powerful and precise, almost like a high-tech weapon from today. This was their only chance. Their Hail Mary. Jongin took a deep breath, aimed at Jin-Woo, and let the fireball fly. Jin-Woo might get a small shock from this magic, but he's totally safe. If the magic wakes him up, the hunters could win. Please, someone begs. A fireball flies through the air, leaving a bright trail and exploding with a loud boom. The angel statue suddenly moves in front of Jin-Woo, blocking the attack. Jongin is shocked by how quickly the statue acted. The statue's face twisted in anger. "Who do you think you are?" it snapped. Jongin's eyes widened as the stone angel bared its teeth for the first time. "How dare you interrupt the king's rest?" Jongin stared, confused. Who was this king the statue was talking about? "What did you just say?" he asked again, but the angel didn't bother to answer. To it, Jongin was no more important than a bug. Why would a statue explain itself to a human? Even though it was stuck in its current form for who knows why, this being still saw itself as better than humans, and didn't feel like explaining anything to them. If a bug was bugging it, squishing it was the simplest solution. The angel smirked, raised her fist high, and slammed it down toward Jongin's head. Whoosh! Jongin's heart dropped, but he remembered what he always told his guild. Never give up, no matter how bad things get. So he didn't back down. Just as the angel's fist was about to hit, a blinding flash of light lit everything up. Clang! When Jongin's vision cleared, he found himself face to face with the sword of light. Hunter Chad Han stood firm, her glowing sword blocking the angel's attack. Her voice was steady, and her stance didn't waver. In a heartbeat Jongin's head would have been gone if things had gone south. He breathed a small sigh of relief as Hein turned his way. "I've got this covered." And Hein said, "So can you help the others?" President Chai, the angel eyed the glowing sword with curiosity. Ins. Who would have thought another human, besides Jin-Woo, could block its attacks? The angel statue tightened its fist, and Hei's knee buckled slightly under the pressure. She wasn't sure how much longer she could hold on, but she was determined to give it her all. A soft moan escaped her lips, and her wrists trembled as she struggled. The angel let out a sly laugh, clearly enjoying the challenge. "Let's see how long you can keep this up," it teased. Turning up the intensity, the stone floor beneath Hazen's feet began to crack under the strain. Using just one arm, it was insanely strong. Hein clenched her teeth so hard. "They might crack. I can't take much more of this." Hein, she thought, her mind racing. She knew she couldn't keep this up for long. With a fierce cry, Hein pushed with every ounce of strength she had. The angel stumbled back a step, clearly caught off guard. It let out a delighted laugh, and smiled like it was having the time of its life. The statue hadn't expected much from Huptov. It thought she'd be an easy distraction, but now it was obvious. She was way more fun than it had bargained for. The angel wasn't done yet. Oh no. This time it gathered its power in both hands. Hein's heart skipped a beat as she watched. The angel's hands were glowing with an incredible amount of magic. If she could have run away, she would have bolted. But Jin-Woo was gone, and if she left now, there'd be no one else to fight this thing. Her eyes blazed fiercely as she glared. The angel, creepy smile spreading wide, took a step forward. 10 feet tall, it loomed over her. Then it attacked, punching wildly like when it fought Jin-Woo. With just 2 arms left, it still had more than enough to take on someone like her. The fist came at Heian like a storm of punches. I pack. She squeezed her eyes tight, focusing hard. "I swore dance," she shouted. Suddenly, her movements became super speedy and precise. Her sword sliced through the air in smooth, flashy arcs, almost like she was performing a deadly dance. But even with her speed, the punches were too fast, and Heian struggled to block them all. Every hit from the angel could have ended Heian's life in an instant. If she didn't block it. The air was filled with sharp clangs and clings as the angel struck again and again, each blow a blur too fast for most people to see. Perfect. Just like that, the angel laughed, clearly enjoying the relentless attack. Heian stumbled back inch by inch, her movements getting slower. She was soaked with sweat, her breathing heavy. Maybe it was the slippery sweat or pure exhaustion. But Heian's grip faltered. One of the angel's punches slipped through her defense, and she gasped as pain shot through her side. That was one painful mistake. Heian didn't block the punch in time, and it hit her shoulder with a loud crack. She stumbled back, grinding her teeth as the shock raced through her body. Her shoulder was broken, leaving her arm numb and useless at her side. The angel didn't hold back, laughing mockingly. "Is that all you've got?" she taunted, rushing in for another attack without giving Heian a moment to recover. The battle between Heian and the statue heated up again with a loud clang. Goth! The angel's metal fists kept coming. Tklang. Ka. Tklang. Tka. 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 Ka. Tka. 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 Ark. She groaned, flying backward through the air. She was lifted into the air against her will, unable to fight back. The angel lost interest in its broken plaything and moved closer to Heian as she fell. It formed its hand into a sharp blade aimed at her chest. Just as all hope seemed lost, a bright blue light flickered around her, and Heian's eyes snapped open mid-fall. She spun around with her sword, and the angel jerked to a stop, barely dodging the blade. The tip of her sword nicked the air just above its eyes. Shink! A thin line appeared across its face, and with a dull thud, Heian landed firmly on both feet, regaining her balance after landing her hit. Thanks to a healing spell that kicked in just in time, she'd escaped the sticky situation. But what helped one person might not work for another. F-whip, the angel statue suddenly spun around, like it was in a whirlwind searching for whoever had cast the healing spell. Crap. F-whip, F-whip, Arzun shouted, her voice sharp with urgency. Get out of the way. The main healer, who had been casting spells from behind the tankers, froze at Heian's warning. The main healer stared in shock as the angel statue sprang to life. Without wasting a second, the statue fought back in the same way he had planned to attack Chugong earlier. The healer's head hit the ground with a thud, and his legs twitched before going still. No, the hunters shouted, charging at the statue angrily. But they were no match for it. Every punch from the statue sent another A-rank hunter tumbling down. This isn't funny anymore, someone cried out, but the statue kept fighting, unstoppable and fierce. Not fun at all. Humans, the powerful creature said. When it lost interest, it showed no mercy. As fewer hunters attacked from behind, the tanks struggled against the statues and a giant. They didn't last long, and soon everything turned into complete chaos. In an instant, things took a turn for the worse. Boom! The giant statue avoided the tanks and slammed its huge fist down, crushing 2 hunters in an instant. Stone statues holding weapons surrounded the remaining fighters, closing in on them. No way. Heian quickly swung her sword, taking down 4 statues, and then leaped in front of the angel. Stopping it was her top priority. But the angel easily blocked her sword with its arm and kicked her in the side. Now that the angel was determined to finish this fight, she couldn't hold it back anymore. When Heian fell to the ground, Chugong grabbed Jin-Woo by the shoulder. Jin-Woo, who had just yanked out another statue, jumped in surprise. I'll distract them while you wake up, Hunter Sung. There's no other choice. What? Isn't he out cold? Actually, he's just asleep. His breathing and magic are steady. Plus, I don't see a single injury on him. Had someone cast a sleeping spell on him? Chugong thought the angel statue might be guarding Jin-Woo because it was scared of what would happen if he woke up. He had no clue what the king's sleep meant, but seeing how fiercely the angel defended Jin-Woo made him nervous. If their fellow hunter stirred, it could mean big trouble. Hurry, Chugong urged. Jin-Woo nodded like he got it. Chugong focused all his energy and summoned a massive ring of fire around his hands. Flames shot out in all directions, roaring like angry beasts. The fireballs lit up the sky as they exploded on impact. Afoosh! Foosh! Then came a series of loud booms and crashes. Afoosh! Afu. Jongin kept their attention busy while Jinchul hurried over to Jin-Woo, hoping Jongin's plan would work out. At the same time, Jin-Woo was lying on the ground, struggling to catch his breath as a giant angel statue loomed over him, its shadow casting down on high. One side of her ribs had been broken by the kick, and as she struggled to reach for her fallen sword, the angel stepped on her arm. Crack! Ah! Crack! Ah! Ah! Crack! Ah! Ah! Crack! The angel statue had already taken out those who could heal, and this girl was too hurt to fight back now. The lone threat among the humans was about to be eliminated. The angel raised its sharp blade-like hand once more and sneered. This is the end. Kyan struggled to catch her breath. Her eyes locked fiercely on her executioner. She knew the battle was lost, but she refused to back down. Something about this moment reminded the angel of Jin-Woo Sung specifically, the fire that had burned in his eyes during their first meeting. The angel's smirk grew wider as it prepared to strike Kyan's chest, but just as its hand was about to make contact, it suddenly stopped mid-air. The angel statue suddenly looked spooked and took a step back. A shadow soldier was lurking in Hain's own shadow. The chamber's rules kept it trapped, but it was definitely there. Hain's enemy seemed totally caught off guard, which confused her. Why hadn't it finished her off when it had the chance? The truth was, it had hesitated. Why did the king put a soldier inside this person? Maybe Jin-Woo was behind it instead of the king. But even though the king and the human are connected, just a little bit, how could the angel tell if it was the king's idea? Or Jin-Woo's? If the king had placed the shadow soldier in Haiyan for some reason, the angel couldn't just do whatever it wanted to her. The angel asked sharply, "How did you find this place?" Haiyan stayed silent. After a long awkward silence, the angel tried again with a different question. "Do you guys know Jin-Woo Sung?" Ain stayed quiet, knowing she didn't have to answer. The creature realized it wasn't getting anywhere with her, so it changed its plan. The angel statue snapped its fingers, and the hunters stopped screaming instantly. The giant stone statues, including the massive one, paused and slowly moved to the far side of the room. Then the angel statue held out its hand, and an invisible force slammed Jinchul to the ground as he tried to reach Jin-Woo. Oh! Jinchul struggled with all his might, but something heavy pressed down on him, and he couldn't budge. Jinchul clenched his fists tightly and sighed deeply. The angel statue lowered its hands slightly, its piercing gaze sweeping across the room as if nothing could hide from it. It was clear that no matter how hard the humans struggled, they were completely under the angel's control, like puppets on strings. There was a huge difference between the angel, with its flawless power, and the fragile humans. That gap couldn't be crossed. The angel turned its attention back to Jinchul, a small grin playing on its lips. "I'll ask you one more time," it said firmly, pointing directly at him. "If you don't answer me this time, I'll kill that man, and all your other colleagues too," the voice growled. Hams nodded slowly. Fine. She hoped this would buy them some time. The angel statue watched as she struggled to sit up. "What's your connection to Jin-Woo Sung?" it asked sharply. "We're friends," Hams Sim replied quietly. The angel tilted its head. "Why are you here?" Hams thought for a moment before answering. "To save Hunter Sung." A faint smile spread across the angel's face at her words. Who was really saving whom here? These humans clearly had no clue what was happening. The angel felt ashamed for thinking the king had a secret plan for this woman. They were here to save Jin-Woo Sung, the human. The stone angel couldn't help but laugh at the situation. The angel statue turned to Hain with a smile. Hey, Hain, I'm giving you an amazing chance." Hain's eyes widened in confusion. "What are you talking about?" "Today one of the world's most powerful leaders is coming to this realm," the statue explained, "and I'm letting you see something super important happen. A moment that will go down in history." The angel statue needed to keep Hain safe until it could figure out what the king really wanted. But she was the only one it planned to spare. The angel's smile disappeared, and now it looked downright crazy-eyed. "Every human except you will die right here," it hissed. After all, these crashers shouldn't be around for His Highness's big return. Just then a voice from behind threw a wrench in its plans. "Says who?" Bomb. A fist slammed right into the angel's face before it could even turn around. Kablam. The statue smashed into the far wall with a loud boom. The impact was so powerful that it shattered the wall, sending chunks of rubble crashing down everywhere. Before the angel could even hit the ground, Jin-Woo suddenly appeared in front of it and grabbed it by the throat. "You," he growled. His other hand rested on his chest as he glared at the statue. It wasn't just a dream after all. Jin-Woo could feel another heartbeat pounding on the right side of his chest. He grabbed the statue by the neck, his voice low and angry. "What have you done to me?" he demanded. The Black Heart Jin-Woo was now the Shadow Monarch. While he relived the memories, something strange happened. Jin-Woo had transformed into the Shadow Monarch. In that moment, Jin-Woo realized something strange was happening. There was a mana-powered heart in his chest, and it kept sending out bursts of magic energy like a steady pulse. He wondered if this was all just in his head, but there was an easy way to find out. He pulled up his stats, still gripping the neck of the angel statue with one hand. Jin-Woo was checking out his stats when one thing really caught his eye: his magic power reserves, which the system called MP or mana points. It showed he had 10,933 MP. Jin-Woo's jaw dropped. 100,000. That seemed crazy. The last time he'd checked his MP, right before entering this dungeon, it was only around 9,000. Where did all this extra power come from? No doubt about it, his MP had skyrocketed by more than 10 times. But something else grabbed his attention: his title. The title line flickered like it was trying to tell him something. Jin-Woo hadn't changed anything himself, but sure enough, the title was different now. It flashed in bold letters: Demon Hunter. Jin-Woo had pretty much ignored this until now, because it never gave him any details. But now he was curious, so he decided to check what it meant. Title: Demon Hunter. Demon Hunter. The required conditions have been fulfilled. To have recovered the memories of defeating Balan, the demon monarch of White Lightning. A mighty force has chosen you as its master. Black Heart buff activated. Your mana just skyrocketed by 100,000 points. That's a whopping boost, more than enough to keep your shadow soldiers regenerating forever. Imagine yourself as the Shadow Monarch, leading an endless army of shadowy warriors against an enemy that fills the sky. The battlefield is intense, with your dark forces clashing against a sea of silver soldiers in an epic showdown. You're an unstoppable force, ready to take on whatever comes your way. Picture this. There were these shadow soldiers stuck in a strange cycle where they died, and came back to life again and again. Each time, they grew stronger, which meant they could eventually outnumber their enemies. The sky soldiers were tough, and could push back against an enemy force about the same size as theirs. But here's the catch: they couldn't keep up with these shadow soldiers who just kept returning. In the end, the sky soldiers had to retreat. Thanks to some last-minute backup, the silver soldiers weren't wiped out. This was all because of the Shadow Monarch's endless source of mana, as shown in the system files. If that's the case, Jin-Woo thought to himself, the Black Heart could make his shadow soldiers immortal. The idea sent chills down his spine. How could you? Jin-Woo looked up at the angel, who was stuttering in shock. For the first time, Jin-Woo saw something on the angel's face. Besides that creepy grin, or fiery anger, it was fear. The angel stared at him in shock. "How are you staying in control with that dark force inside you?" he asked. Jin-Woo frowned. What does he mean? This question made two things clear to Jin-Woo.